Okay, welcome everyone to the Austin Public Library virtual potluck. We're thrilled to have you here. I'm Diana Lennon, Head of Adult Services, and I'm happy to host Ashley Covelli of Big Flavors from Tiny Kitchen every month. This is National Cookbook Month, which is very exciting for us. We have a great cookbook collection and cookbook display, and Ashley's going to tell you about some more fun things with cookbooks. And I'll just remind you, November 15th is our next meeting at 6 p.m., also a Tuesday. So just go to our calendar at austinlibrary.org and sign up for that to get the Zoom link. And I'll also, we'll both send you all the info you need and the link and everything. So welcome everyone and have fun. I have to go to another meeting, so.
But this time you'll actually get food. She's getting fed at this meeting. Normally she
wants so that's good. Yeah.
Food, so it's kind of
yeah. So have a great time. Ashley, you can probably take me off of hosting here. There we go.
So before I pin my overhead camera, just quickly, if any of you are new, we do this program once a month. It's called Virtual Potluck, and we have a theme. And since it's October, I didn't want to do a Halloween cooking class, although clearly I love Halloween because I'm just how I am. But this month I thought it would be fun to cook recipes from a new cookbook, new to me, that I've been kind of obsessed with. It's called The Kitchen Without Borders, Recipes and Stories from Refugee and Immigrant Chefs. I will return this to the library tomorrow, so I'm sure there are more copies in the library system also. If anybody wants to check it out, you can put it on hold and have them deliver it right to whichever library is closest to you in the Westchester County Library System. But the photos in here are beautiful. There's a really nice variety of recipes. It's all from refugee and immigrant chefs here in the US. And I've cooked, normally I'll check out a cookbook from the library and I might try out a couple recipes. Sometimes I just peruse them and just see what it's all about. This one, I've cooked probably 10 recipes from, and they've all been awesome. So this is kind of one of the things I like about the library is I'll try out a cookbook, and then if I like it, I'll determine, okay, this warrants a place on my shelf because I don't have a ton of room. So this is definitely, I've really enjoyed this. I made something from Nigeria. I've made a couple, I made some Iranian dishes. I'm half Persian, so that was a nice surprise to find some interesting ones. And then there's features on all these different chefs, and you can read a little bit about their stories. It's a really cool cookbook. And when they initially sold it, 2% of the cover price of each book sold went to benefit the International Rescue Committee, which I thought was really cool. I wish they were still doing that, but I mean, they got to make money. So highly recommend this cookbook. It goes all over the world. There's Africa, India, Sri Lanka, Syria, and it's just a really interesting way to learn about different cuisines. And you're not checking out an Iraqi cookbook and a Polish cookbook and all these different things. You can just one cookbook. So pretty interesting. I've been enjoying it. And so tonight, instead of making my recipes, we're going to make 2 recipes from this cookbook. So is anybody cooking along with me? If so, if you're shy, you can feel free to unmute, say hi, ask questions, or you can put it in the chat. Just curious if anyone's cooking along. If not, I will just plug away. These are very simple recipes. And I made each of them once before. We're making a Tabbouleh salad. And then this one is from Chef Dhuha from Iraq. And it's the description is mint scented parsley salad with fresh tomato, onion, and bulgur and a lemon olive oil dressing. And then the second recipe, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, Musabbaha. It's a tahini-dressed chickpea salad by Chef Diaa from Syria. I have a few things that I'm going to change just because I made them once before. I found the lemon was a little too strong on the sauce or the dressing on the tabbouleh. I think it was just a bit much, so I'm going to not put all of it in, but do it to your taste. However, clearly the chef likes it like this. I think I tend to like things a little less salty. So this recipe calls for a tablespoon of kosher salt. I didn't use any because ground sumac is also in this recipe, and a lot of times sumac has salt already in it. This is it's used in a lot of Persian recipes and Syrian and stuff like that. It's kind of a little lemony, and it usually has salt in it. So I thought it was plenty salty without salt. I'm not going to add any. You're out. Oh, I have to give you.
No, it's time for you to come visit, Ashley. I'm out.
Look, I have a back because I got this giant jar, and this is the shaker. We keep it at our table when we do kebab. I like shake it over the top.
Yeah,
I absolutely.
I had enough for tonight, but just wanted you to know that time for a visit.
That's amazing. Okay, so the other tricky thing, and apparently it's not just me, bulgur wheat is labeled very poorly for sale. Apparently it's a well-known thing. I linked a website in the class PDF. You can click and look through. They have a couple different methods of cooking it, but the recipe calls for fine bulgur. This was the finest bulgur I was able to find. I found this at Yarnoosh in like White Plains. It just says bulgur cracked wheat. I looked for like the smallest grain I could find, and it just says yellow bulgur #1. It just tells you to store it. Please store our products in a cool, dry place without sunlight. Zero cooking instructions, nothing on there. And I couldn't find any other like good, like the website of this brand does not tell you how to cook it. So the recipe, if you want to do it per the recipe, feel free. I'm going to do something different, but the recipe tells you to put the bulgur, so it's like half a cup, in a bowl and cover it by 1/2 inch of room temperature water and let it soak until the liquid's absorbed 10 to 15 minutes. Because this, I don't think is as fine as bulgur comes, I did a different method that worked out well. So I'm gonna boil some water. Actually, I just used this to make like a late in the day coffee pour over, but 1-to-1, here's my lid. Just gonna put this on the stove. I suppose you could microwave the water and try to get it to boil, but I find it doesn't necessarily heat it as evenly. So we need 1/2 cup of the bulgur. So I'm just going to measure it into a small dish. And then we'll do also 1/2 cup of the water once it comes to a boil. And then you just let it sit. The website I found said that, let me pin this one. Says that fine bulgur 7 minutes and then medium is 15 minutes. This I think only took a little, I think this only took 7 minutes for me last time, but you can just kind of let it sit and see, and all of a sudden the liquid will be absorbed and you can just fluff it. And it doesn't seem like it would make a ton. This makes a ton.
It does. It really gets.
It really bulks up. Yeah, although I think the last time I made it, and I'm kind of glad, maybe will I do that again this time? I don't know if I have enough water. I cooked twice as much as I needed, and then I saved 1/2 of it in the fridge so that I could like just use it to have an extra grain hanging out for like lunches and like quick sides and stuff for the week. So it worked out really nicely to have that. And I try to do that like if I'm making rice or any type of grains, it's kind of nice to just have a little extra hanging out, especially if you work from home and you have you need fillers for lunch.
And Ashley, I took the bulgur that I had, which also was not fine. It's red bulgur. I don't know if that makes a difference. And
I mean, I think the cooking would probably be the same.
Yeah, I just put it in a bowl and boiled twice as much water.
Oh, you did twice as much.
Put it over, covered it, and it worked out perfect.
Okay, so you did interesting, twice as much water. I wonder if that changes the texture at all to do twice as much. I don't know. It's I feel like there's a lot.
Bulgur can be al dente. It does have a little bit of tooth to it, and it feels like pretty good to me.
I guess that's a good thing that it's not too easy to mess up since they don't give you instructions on how to cook it. All right, so I'm just gonna let this sit aside while that comes up to a boil. And let's see. And I'm gonna do like a kind of like a medium bowl. I'm gonna make the dressing for the tahini-dressed chickpea salad. Because this says you can serve it right away or you can let it sit in the fridge for 2 hours. I had it like fresh the day I made it last, and then I had it left over for a couple days and it held up great. So the dressing for this is 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt. Do that. This is just some plain yogurt that I made that I strained to get the extra liquid out of it. And something that I always say, and I apologize if you've heard me say this again, but I feel like it's an important note, is if you're shopping and you go to buy Greek yogurt, sometimes the different brands, the color of the plain Greek yogurt packaging is the same as the vanilla in another brand. So I'm always careful, because if you sub plain Greek yogurt in a sweet recipe, it's not that big of a deal. But if you accidentally put vanilla yogurt in your chickpea salad, like, I feel like it's not great. So just something to look out for. It's super easy to make in the Instant Pot. I've been meaning to write up a post on how to do it, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but one day I will. We just eat a lot of yogurt, so it's more cost effective for me to do that. We're gonna add a 1/4 cup of tahini. And I like using this little, I have a backup little squeezy bottle of tahini, just because it's not as finicky, I feel like, to work with. I use this in hummus also. Shake it around a little. If you have a jar of tahini, you'll need to, it probably will separate, so you'll just need to give it a stir. And I've also seen that some people, if you have a glass jar of tahini or like natural peanut butter, you can use a stick immersion blender and put it right in the jar and then kind of blitz it that way, and that'll help, so you're not stirring it and getting the liquid all over you. I'm like getting toward the end of this guy. I will say, when you get toward the end, it seems like there's a little bit stuck on the bottom, but I feel like overall, just the ease of it, I kind of prefer this to a jar. My water is almost boiling.
Hey, Ashley, I looked up online and it says fine bulgur is #1.
Oh,
So
but I feel like it doesn't seem like what I would consider fine. I don't know, because it's like kosher salt, which I don't, I guess I was expecting like a finer grain than that, because I don't know if you can tell, like this it's like the texture of kosher salt. I don't know, but that's interesting. That is good. I feel like there's just not a lot of information online, and the post that I saw, they said like basically all of the major brands like are offenders of that, like not labeling it. All right, I'm gonna measure 1/2 cup of boiling water. If you're ever measuring like a hot liquid or microwaving a liquid, make sure you use something that's microwave safe. Pyrex, like not just a regular cup, because you don't want it to shatter. So I just poured it over the top. I'm just gonna let it sit. I'm not even gonna stir it. Alexa, set a timer for 7 minutes. So we'll see if it's soaked in 7 minutes. Alexa, stop. She's telling me that the weather's changing. I don't know if you heard that. So these two recipes, I had both of them left over for several days, and I thought they held up just fine. Like the tabbouleh is a little less fresh, maybe. It was a little more, like the sauce was a little more absorbed in it after the first day, but I thought it worked out fine. So you could definitely make it in advance and have it on hand. It looks like it's already absorbed, which is kind of funny, but I'm gonna leave it. All right, so we've got yogurt tahini. We need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Got my juicer. I grabbed a bag of lemons because a lot of lemons in these recipes. Even though I'm not using the zest, I'm rinsing the outsides just because you're cutting them on your board and stuff. Anything that might be hanging out on the outside will get on your cutting board. And then this is another one of the tips that I mention often, but just in case you don't know, when you're using a juicer, you don't have to use a juicer. You can use your hands. You can stick a fork in here and just kind of use the fork to get the flesh and squeeze it. Oh, there's Chris is joining. But when you put it in, don't put it with the cut side up. You want to do the opposite of the shape of the curve here, because that will really compress the lemon and get all the juice out of there. So depending on how juicy the lemons are, you might need 1 lemon for this. You might need 2. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Hello, hello.
What you doing?
Nice to be here.
Good to have you on this. I feel like we always have the weird, rainy, odd weather whenever we do one of these classes with the Ossining Library. It's kind of funny. It's like just always a rainy day. We're just making the dressing for it's a tahini-dressed chickpea salad. This is the cookbook because it's National Cookbook Month. So we're doing two recipes in this book, which is fabulous. Like I love it, love it. So in here we've got Greek yogurt, tahini, and lemon juice. Just gonna whisk it together. Super easy. And then I've been meaning I want to try this with like homemade, not homemade, but home cooked chickpeas from dried. They're really easy to do in the Instant Pot. I just haven't done it yet. And canned ones are very convenient. So they call for 3.5 cups of cooked chickpeas, which is about 30 ounces of canned drained. So they don't sell, that I saw, a 30-ounce can, but it doesn't matter. This is a 29-ounce can and it is just fine. And then another like interesting thing, if you have one of these can openers, it's got this little thing here. See if I can actually get it to work on this can though. I can't get in there with it. Well, this is a bottle opener. I thought maybe I could get it on this tab from here, but you can use it as a bottle opener, which is kind of handy. I usually just use the back of a spoon to kind of help lift it up. If anybody here has a favorite cookbook, I'd love to hear about it. Since it's cookbook month, I'm always interested in checking out new ones. And just a quick note, this says drained, it doesn't say rinsed, so I'm not going to bother rinsing them. I feel like they did just reorganize the cookbook collection at the library. So there's a lot, it's kind of easier to find stuff, I think. But there's a lot of options there. And also locally, the Greenberg Library has a ton, and the Chappaqua Library has a ton of cookbooks. All right, so chickpeas are in. I'm gonna stir it around. Oh, Cynthia's back. Okay, so I'm just gonna stir it to coat everything. Hi again, Cynthia. So just mixing it all together. And then it says you can do this chilled or at room temperature. I'm just gonna let it chill while we finish the other stuff and while we chop up the toppings and everything, because there's a lot of similar ingredients between this and the other recipe. So I'm just gonna put this in the fridge. Next month, our cooking class is on Tuesday, November 15th at 6. And we're gonna be making, I'm calling it optionally spicy, 3-bean chili and some sweet corn muffins. So what I usually do is I start the chili and then I divide it into 2 pots. So one I add the heat to, and one I leave a little more mild. So my son, or if my mother-in-law is here, they don't have like their heads, exploding from the heat, but we like it a little spicy. And then, so while that's simmering, we'll make some corn muffins that are nice to go alongside. And you can I like using ground turkey. You can use beef, you can use bison, you can use a vegan ground meat substitute like, I like Beyond Meat ground is my favorite, but it's a really good recipe. I feel like it's going to be definitely chilly weather come November, although like in the 70s here today at the end of October. So I really can't predict what it'll be like then. So the other things that go on to this, I suppose to put the onion in there. Let's cut the onion. So 1/3 cup of thinly sliced red onion. Just taking the ends off. Oh, we were talking about probably before the recording started. So if you're watching the recording and you're like, what? We were talking about potatoes and potato vodka and whatever. My husband had shredded some potatoes last week, and he put them in a bowl of water and covered it because he wanted to make hash browns, but he didn't want to do it yet. He just wanted to prep them, and he meant to either deal with them or freeze them after he drained them. and then he got sick and he forgot. So
So you made vodka.
basically I kept like smelling something weird in the kitchen, and we have compost. Alexa, stop. We have compost, but it was like, it just didn't smell right. And it was like bubbling and fermenting and coming out.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
it was this bowl. It had the lid on it, and it was probably the grossest thing I've ever
Oh
smelled.
my goodness. There's nothing worse. You know, when you like smell something in your kitchen and you're like trying to find like, where is it? What is it? What is it?
Uh-huh.
And it turns out to be just like a potato gone bad.
And like, potatoes are so good. How dare they betray us like that?
I know.
I
But,
didn't
oh my goodness, that's a gross thing. Sorry for your experience.
We're gonna check on this because it's been 7 minutes, and you can see, just kind of move the spoon across and it gets nice and fluffy. So 7 minutes. I don't see any harm in leaving it longer. It's not like it can absorb more of the liquid. But it's a super easy side or grain to have around. I need to use it more often now that I have a container of it. I think I made like a bowl with it, and I actually, like, the next day after I made these recipes last, I did a bowl with like a little pile of that, a little pile of the chickpea stuff. I think I've added some like jarred eggplant dip from Trader Joe's, and you know, like just anything you have, just like some cucumbers, tomatoes, feta, whatever, you can just kind of pile it on top there. Just gonna get these onions in here since I forgot about that. Letting them sit in this mixture will help like make them a little more mild if you're not into the flavor of raw onions. You can also, if you cut up onions, you can soak them in cold water for a few minutes and then just like drain them, and that helps make them a little more mild. I like raw onions, so I don't have a problem with it. But all right, back in the fridge. And we have, let's see, October, November, December. We're gonna do cookies because December, like, it's got to be cookies, and it's toward the beginning of the month because we didn't want to interfere with the later in the month holidays. I haven't completely decided yet. I think I want to see if we can do my ricotta cookies because they're really good. Just usually they need a little time to chill, like to cool before you ice them, but I think we can do it. It's like finding something that works within an hour can be a little tricky sometimes, but we'll make it work. Let's see. Okay, so we've got chickpea mixture that's hanging out. We can start cutting the stuff for the tabbouleh salad now. So we've got the bulgurs ready. We're gonna need, this calls for 3 cups of finely chopped fresh flat leaf parsley leaves and 3 cups of finely chopped mint leaves. And the other recipe calls for 1.5 cups of finely chopped parsley leaves. So I'm just gonna chop a bunch of parsley, well, 2 bunches really. I'm not worried about it being the exact right amount because the chickpea salad recipe, you're basically just piling the chopped herbs on top of it at the end. It's not like the tabbouleh, it's like mixed in and everything. I think it was a bit heavy on the parsley, and I do love fresh herbs, but I think it was a little much. So I'm just gonna chop 2 bunches and see what I'm left with and just use all that. Okay. There's a lot of Persian recipes that call for large amounts of chopped fresh herbs, and they use them more of an ingredient instead of, in a lot of like American type recipes, they use herbs as like an accent. But like there's this one dish called kuku sabzi, and I think it's KUKU sabzi, and I feel like there might be a recipe for it in this cookbook too. I haven't tried this one, but you pan fry, you cut up a ton. I bought like bunches and bunches of fresh herbs. It was mint, parsley, maybe some tarragon, and maybe cilantro, if I'm remembering right. And you fry them a little bit in the skillet first, and then you mix this egg. It's almost like an omelet, but baked in a pan. You get this really dense, beautiful green, fragrant dish, and it's so much different than anything else I've ever had. Kind of like a frittata a little bit, but there's something about like cooking the herbs instead of just tossing them in raw that I thought is pretty cool. This is the time when I'm like, I have a tiny kitchen and I had one of those little square cutting boards with the mezzaluna, like half moon, that you could like rock back and forth, had like a rocking horse kind of blade, and you could just chop herbs really fast, but I didn't use it that much. So you could also probably use a food processor if you wanted to. Yeah, the stems are fine. Just if there's any big stems, just want to make sure you cut them up. If you mind that, if you don't mind biting into a bit of stem, no problem. So when it's like somewhere around the same consistency, I'm gonna save, not quite half, I'm gonna save like this much for the top of my chickpea dish. And then let's get a big bowl. You need a bowl this big, maybe. Let's see. Little scraper helper guy. Oh, but sorry, I was saying we have stuff picked out and themes through December of this year. But if you have any requests for themes for next year, by all means, we've done tons of different themes, but I'm always happy to try to work on recipes if it's something I haven't made before, or something that, you know, might need to tweak some recipes to make it fit with the theme. I'm always happy to help, you know, come up with things that you guys are going to want to make, or I guess that things you're going to want to watch me make, either way. So yes, always open suggestions. And you can see on our on the library's website, it's called a lib guide, and it has all of our old, we used to do cookbook discussions on the theme also once a month, and it's got all of those. It's got all the PDFs that have the recipes from the different themes we've done in the past. So there's lots of content to explore. But we can repeat a theme, like we've done, you know, salads, but there's millions of ways to do salads. So, and a lot of times in January, people are looking for more like healthier things. Or we did bowls. That was one of my favorites, and I think Cynthia it was so fun. And it's some really interesting cookbooks from that one. But, you know, there's tons of ways to do bowls. So, you know, anything that you have any requests, don't be shy. All right, we got our parsley. I got the bulgur in here. I'm gonna chop up some mint. And if this was in the summer, like it was the last time I made this, I would just use mint from my garden. But
no, I used up my very end of the mint. It gets this time of year, it gets so, I don't know, pungent, the mint. And I winter over my time and with mint, and
yeah,
it just gets really, really strong.
Yeah, and the
I didn't have enough parsley, so I don't know. I kind of,
yeah, and I feel like this recipe you could totally like change up the herbs if you want. If you wanted to do like cilantro, or if you do tarragon's just a pretty strong flavor, so I maybe wouldn't go quite as heavy on it. Like I wouldn't do probably 3 cups of cilantro. I'm just picking off some of the leaves because the stems are pretty thick on this one. I had a friend who also has a food website tell me once that people who don't like cilantro, if you chop up the stems with the leaves, they won't find that it tastes like soap. I don't believe it, but I don't think it tastes like soap, so I can't really like verify. But if you happen to be a cilantro hater and you're on the call, you could give it a try. And if you do, let me know. But I think it's actually a gene, right? That makes people have it taste like soap.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Well, and
it's on ancestry.com as a trait.
Oh yeah. How cool are those? Have any of you guys done those? Sorry, I don't mean to call everybody guys. It's just a habit. Like I say dude, even when my son calls me bruh sometimes. So I'm not offended, but I don't mean anything by that. But yeah, they have these like really interesting traits. Like it told me, it somehow knew people with my genes tend to remember their dreams. And I remember like every dream I have since I was a kid. And I just thought it was wild that they can tell that from like your saliva. It's so weird. But they do like your risk aversion, and there's all sorts of things that you can find out.
They do it from surveying people. So they take people with your DNA type, and, you know.
That's true.
That's how they determine it.
I also, one of my friends this weekend, we did this, there's an Alice in Wonderland, like in the streets kind of, not scavenger hunt, but kind of, it was like interactive with this app, and you did like trivia and all this stuff, and you like to find different things, and you had to save Alice. It was a lot of fun, but we were walking around and she told me that people with her blood type tend to not digest meat well. She said she was A positive. I don't know if that's true. I'm not A positive, but I thought that was an interesting thing, if your blood type could impact the types of food that you digest well.
They do have those diets that are based on your blood type.
It's true. Do you remember what that's called? I forgot about that.
No, I don't.
Interesting. Remember Deal a Meal with Richard Simmons?
Yeah.
It was like infomercials from when I was a kid.
There was a book called Eat Right for Your Type,
Oh, okay.
Probably it.
That's
meaning blood type.
interesting.
And I don't think it was got a lot of serious traction,
Right.
but just as an idea, if you've paid attention to how your body acts and reacts to food that you eat, maybe statistically it wouldn't bear out, but maybe, on a more individualized basis, it might run true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember I get migraines, and I tried to see if I could tie it to like food or caffeine or anything, but I couldn't. But it is interesting if you trying to narrow down the possibilities of what could cause various ailments and afflictions, I guess. These are just green onions. We need about a cup. Again, for this recipe, the measurements, I don't feel like, for the things that you mix in, are not super important for the tabbouleh. The recipe in the cookbook mentioned that every family kind of has their own signature version of this dish, and she said that I don't remember if the chef was female or not, but said that some people use a little bit of pomegranate molasses in their dressing, and I thought that was interesting. And they said if you do that, though, cut back on the amount of lemon that you use. And so I'll show you. I didn't try it with the pomegranate molasses, but I'll show you what it looks like in case you do want to try. Maybe I'll try it today. Maybe I'll put a little bit in there. So it looks like this. It's a really thick syrup. This is refrigerated after I opened it. But it's really thick. It's I use it in this roasted red pepper walnut dip. And there's another recipe in here, actually. I'm extra chatty today because these recipes are pretty easy to put together, so I don't need all of the time. But here's the kuku sabzi, like I was talking about. And those are dried barberries on top. But they're
barberries, did you say?
Yeah. My dad brought me a bunch actually from Iran, not the last time he visited, but the time before that, and I've been keeping it in my freezer. They're kind of, you could substitute like dried cranberries. They're a little bit different, but it's like a very interesting, like it's tart. Trying to find, there's this kebab in here that I made. It used pomegranate molasses and it was really good. Let's see. I might have to go to the index. Oh, here we go. This is a Syrian beef kebab. And so there's a sauce on top. This is a grilled kebab with pomegranate and roasted tomato sauce. So you roast, let me not get, I just got pomegranate molasses fingers on my library book. Let me fix that. Side note, if you ever do like spill something on a library book, just let them, and you can't clean it, like let them know when you return it, because they have magical ways of helping to fix things. But this, for the sauce, you roast.
Sounds like experience, Ashley.
I usually am like really good with keeping cookbooks out of the way. There must have been some pomegranate molasses on the outside of my jar though. But I have checked ones out before that people definitely got kind of gross. So you roast plum tomatoes and yellow onion, and then you puree it with the tomatoes and onions with pomegranate molasses, and that's the sauce that's on top. And they put pomegranate arils on top too, which I couldn't find any, so I didn't do that part, but the kebab was really good. This was like a really interesting recipe. And it's nice to find other ways to use ingredients like this that you might not necessarily use super often.
Ashley,
Yes.
I'd like to jump back to that topic about eating certain foods and, about it possibly being related to your blood type.
Mhm.
I'm just looking up online about that book, Eat Right for Your Type.
Yep.
And apparently it's been revised and updated.
Oh.
It says that over 7 million copies have been sold.
How
Interesting.
many, Chris?
And
7 million?
Amazon, pardon?
7 million?
Yes, that's what
That's
it's
quite a
saying.
few. That's
I'm looking twice to make sure I'm seeing that number correctly. And in terms of reviews, 9,500 reviews for it, with it having, a very solid bunch of the stars, the 4+
Wow.
whatever.
That's great.
But I would also caution the following. That does not mean that those 9,000+ reviews were done by doctors or nutritionists.
Right.
So, I would just caution that. But it would also seem that, as I mentioned earlier, that if you've tried a lot of things, or if some of it seems to make sense to you to try on a limited basis,
Right.
depending on what your individual health situation is.
Yeah.
So I bring that added information to everyone's attention.
That is, do you do something with nutrition for a living? Or you're just quick on the keyboard researching for us?
I have a lot of active interests.
Okay.
And how people experience food is one of the top ones.
Oh, that's cool. That's a really interesting way to put it too, how people experience food. I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, for the people who get the recording, it only does the one camera angle. If you come live, you get the overhead view also. But I'm just cutting some tomatoes, and this is just one of the tricks that I do. For this recipe, you can either use diced seeded plumbed tomatoes or halved cherry tomatoes. I have cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes. If you have these little lids from takeout or the deli, you put one with the lip side up, and you can put your tomatoes in there, and then put one with the lip side down, and you kind of apply a little light pressure, and you put your knife right through the middle, and it just cuts them all very quickly, so you don't have to like fuss. They're all perfectly cut in half. You don't have to fuss too much with it. This recipe calls for like a cup of tomatoes. I like tomatoes. I'll put a little extra in there. So we've got bulgur, parsley, mint, tomatoes, scallions, and then we're gonna make a dressing. I think you could put in, other things would be great too. I think it's a good base recipe though. So when I made this before, I found it too lemony, but I think I'm just gonna not pour all of the dressing in, and I'm gonna test out this gadget that I bought. I was like, why not try out a new thing? It's like a salad dressing holder, but it's got a little kind of whisk thing in it. So I feel like in theory, if you have a dressing that like separates, you can keep this in the fridge afterward, which I'll do with this. And then the next day, if it's solidified a little because it's too cold, you might need to let it sit out for a few minutes. But theoretically, just twisting this around should emulsify it again.
Wow.
So we'll see. I'm going to give it a try. It may fail miserably. That's okay. So they said, let me just double check what they said about the pomegranate molasses in here. What page was this on? Well, there's the categories in here. They've got appetizers and dips, salads and soups, grain dishes, vegetarian dishes, meat dishes, desserts and drinks. So this falls under a few. Let's check. Let's see it, salads and soups. I made a really interesting, this one too. This is an Iranian dish that I hadn't heard of. Zaytun parvarde, olive, pomegranate, and walnut tapenade. You like make a little kind of mixture with Greek yogurt and this powder that I can show you in a moment. It's called Golpar, Golpar, or Angelica powder. I had to find that online. I was curious to try it, but it says that a lot of Iranian people mix it on and sprinkle it on fava beans, which I thought was interesting. All right, so this tabbouleh salad, perfect side dish for everything from kibbeh to chicken and rice. In some countries, Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine, parsley is the main attraction, but in Western culture, the salad has seen a role reversal with bulgur taking center stage. The Iraqi version is somewhere in between. The bulgur and parsley balance each other out. Every family with an heirloom tabbouleh recipe makes it differently based on personal preference, such as by omitting the onion. Some variations add little bits of pomegranate molasses or bitter orange, a sharper type of citrus native to Asia and Africa that has been cultivated in many corners of the globe. If you opt to try these variations, reduce the lemon juice accordingly. So by how much? We don't know. We're gonna just experiment.
Accordingly.
Accordingly. Oh, right, obviously. So the dressing calls for half a cup of lemon juice. There are measurements on here, which is handy. So I'm gonna do 1/3 of a cup. Let's try that. I think I still have some juice left in one of these lemon halves.
How much pomegranate does it call for?
No, it doesn't accordingly. It's just accordingly.
No,
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't say. Because it just mentioned that like some people use that. So if you do, adjust accordingly. But it's a very strong flavor, pomegranate molasses. So you wouldn't want to like omit a quarter cup of excuse me, of lemon juice and then add a quarter cup. It would be like crazy strong. So I don't know. I'm gonna go like maybe a teaspoon. I don't want to go too crazy. So that's about 1/3 of a cup of lemon. If you're making this per the recipe, do half a cup of lemon juice. I'm gonna throw in I'll do 1.5
you can always
teaspoons.
add more after you taste it.
That is incredibly true. And I'm surprised I didn't think of that. Yeah, I'll do 1 teaspoon. And this stuff is like really thick and kind of bloopy. So there's a roasted pepper and walnut dip called muhammara that I make that uses this ingredient. It's really good in that too. Half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. Oh, see, now can't continue measuring because I would have to do math. So I'll use my other measuring cup. And I'm just going to use, I have a little bit still left of this Calabrian extra virgin olive oil from Second Mouse Cheese Shop in Pleasantville, which if you have not been there, it is lovely. So I figured I probably don't have a half cup left. So I'm going to use the rest of this and then mix in some that we got as a gift from somebody.
Where was that again in Pleasantville, please?
It's like across from Jacob Burns, if you're familiar. Let's see, what is that main, do they have the address? They don't. Let's see. It's wonderful. They have tons of cheeses and Manville Road, 357 Manville Road. They have so many cheeses, and they have, I think it's adorable. They have in the cooler, they have these little things called mouse bites. If you just want like a tiny little piece of cheese, just to try. But yeah, they'll let you like taste cheeses and stuff, and they have a lot of like artisan crackers and meats. They do sandwiches and stuff too, and they do classes. So they do like a cheese 101 or cheese and wine pairing. I did a cheese and chocolate pairing there once that was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ashley, is that a new place?
Is it? Have you not been there?
I have not.
I'll take you there sometime.
Field trip?
Yeah, do you want to go on a field trip? I'll give you sumac and we can we can go to the cheese shop. That's like everything about me that makes me happy. Like that's hilarious. So like I said, this calls for a tablespoon of ground sumac and a tablespoon of kosher salt. I'm only going to put the sumac in because I find it to be salty enough, but I'll taste it and see. All right, let's see if this works. All right, so it's like separated now. Ooh, okay. Oh,
That's good.
I wasn't expecting it to mix that quickly, honestly. All right, let me taste this and see. So it's got this little like to open it.
Oh,
Little button. Very cute. I'll post on Instagram tomorrow when I go to use it for lunch to see if it re-emulsifies easily. Yeah, I think that's good. I wouldn't want any more lemon or any more salt because it's got a lot of flavor. So that's it. We just toss that in here. And then I got to cut up some more tomatoes for the other recipe. I'm gonna only do part of this. This made about 3/4 of a cup. Although I cut back on some of the ingredients. But you can always like you said, it's like just you can always add more. You can't take stuff out. So I had a big spoon out somewhere, didn't I? Maybe not. So you just toss it all together. It's nice and colorful. I think I have some feta cheese. I think that would be really good on there.
yeah, I'm thinking of adding feta.
Yeah. And it's, you know, with the colorful tomatoes, it's nice. I think it would be good even with like bell peppers or.
Yeah, I added cucumber just because I had it.
Yeah, cucumbers would be great. So that's the tabbouleh salad, super easy. And then let me just double check. The other one, we just need to sprinkle on parsley and tomato over the top. So, well, we got the parsley chopped. Let's cut up a couple more tomatoes. And this one, like I said, it held up pretty well for me for a few days. I like having extras of things so I can have them for lunch. So I feel like though on this one, it says diced tomato. I'm gonna cut them down a little farther than this just so it's not quite so big on top. But it is, I mean, you know, it's a cold or room temperature depending when you eat it salad. So it'd be great for the summer. And yeah, this cookbook, like I said, it'll be back at the library tomorrow. And they have tons of other cookbooks. I think Diana just is going to send out after today. I think she's going to send out an email that's got like maybe, I don't know if it'll link to the recording of today's, but it'll also have the links for November. The registration is on the website though. If you want to go and register to join us, we're going to be, I know some people joined a little later, but we're going to be making chili with any type of meat or vegan non-meat that you like, and as spicy as you want. We'll adjust, and some corn muffins to go with it. It freezes well too, the chili. Like my beef stew, I like freezing that. So you make the big batch of the thing once, and then you have leftovers that are already cooked and ready for you when you need it. So this recipe tells you to serve it on a, what does it say? A shallow bowl. I just using this guy. Put the chickpea in here. I think you could have some fun too, like mixing in if you have the tahini in here, but you could mix in maybe some spices.
Are you happy with the amount of dressing in that compared to
in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like a I don't know, thick scoopable type of thing. I think it would be good. I like to cut up a little pita to put along with it, but I think it would be good also inside of a pita, like stuffed in as like a sandwich. But yeah, so this wanted me to do 1.5 cups of parsley. I think it's a bit excessive, so I'm just gonna do that. Like it's still plenty, I think. And some tomatoes on the top. This would be easy too if you're doing like a kind of Mediterranean party, just to have a little something extra with some protein for people to enjoy. And then a drizzle of olive oil. Ooh, that's a big drizzle. Yeah. So that's all there is to this one. My son will eat this one. He was not into this, but I like it. And I think too, if you made, I think I had leftover one day this with some of the kebab with that pomegranate sauce was a really great combo too. So that is all for these two recipes. Like I said, normally I do recipes that are my own, but I think it's fun especially for National Cookbook Month, to kind of mix things up a bit. Again, if anybody ever has any requests for themes, you can either reach out to Diana at the library, or you can feel free to email me or message me on social media. I'm at Big Flavors, and I'm happy to accommodate however we can. Thank you so much for coming. Let me see. If anybody is interested, I have my next class outside of, not with this library, but I do classes with lots of different libraries. I have a kids cooking class November 4th at 6. We're making challah French toast. And then virtual potluck, that's the chili one. I've got a teen baking class with some peppermint hot chocolate cookies, lots of kids stuff coming up. And then in the new year, I've got some more classes with the Rye Fruit Reading Room. So try to keep the variety, keep it interesting, and I appreciate you all coming.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. And Cynthia, I'll be in touch about.
Okay. You have a date.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Everybody. And thank you, Chris, for all that info. That was really interesting.
That was interesting, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to be in the class again.
Yeah. So nice to have you. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ashley.